All right, let's dive into one of history's most incredible stories. We're talking about how a single, fiercely independent Berber tribe, hidden away in the mountains of North Africa, managed to build a massive caliphate that took on the great powers of the medieval world. This is the story of the Fatimids. So the big question is, how on earth did they pull this off? How did they go from the mountains to an empire stretching from the Atlantic all the way to the Red Sea? Well, the answer is this amazing story of prophecy, revolution, and a power shift that would completely reshape the entire Islamic world. To really get how this revolution was even possible, you have to picture the Maghreb at the tail end of the 9th century. It wasn't one unified place. It was a land of competing powers, a fractured landscape, just waiting for a new force to come in and shake things up. And this table really lays it out. The whole region was a patchwork of rival dynasties. You had the Sunni Aghlabids over in what's now Tunisia, then the Shia Idrisids way out west, and smack in the middle, the Kharijite Rostamids. 3 different powers, 3 completely different ideologies, all vying for control. You couldn't ask for a more perfect political vacuum. And then you have the real wild card in all of this, the Kutama. Now, on paper, they were under Aghlabid rule, but in reality, they were completely autonomous. Tucked away in their rugged mountains, they refused to pay taxes and were getting more and more hostile to the powers around them. They were this overlooked force just waiting for a spark. And that spark, it arrived all right. It came in the form of a radical new idea, a message that would connect with the Kutama on a deep level and give them a cause so powerful it would unite them and, well, change the course of history. Okay, so at the very heart of this new belief is the concept of the Imam. You have to understand, for Shia Muslims, the Imam isn't just some political ruler. No, he is a divinely guided, infallible successor to the Prophet himself, the one who holds the faith's deepest secrets. This is a figure with immense, almost unbelievable spiritual authority. And this brings us to a really crucial split in the faith. So the designated 7th Imam, a man named Ismail, died unexpectedly. This created a huge crisis. Most Shia just accepted his brother as the next Imam, but a small, dedicated group refused. They insisted that Ismail was the true successor. These became the Ismailis, and their unique belief system would become the engine of the entire Fatimid movement. So how does this idea even get to the remote Kutama tribe? It all starts with one man, a really charismatic Ismaili preacher named Abu Abd Allah. He meets some Kutama pilgrims in Mecca and actually travels back with them to their mountain home. And there he gives them this powerful prophecy. The Mahdi, a divine savior, is coming. And guess who's destined to be the army that brings him to power? You got it, the Kutama. And that prophecy lit a fire like you wouldn't believe. Suddenly, the Kutama weren't just a rebellious mountain tribe. They were a revolutionary army on a divine mission. And they set out to fulfill that destiny with absolutely astonishing speed. I mean, just look at this timeline. It's insane how fast it all went down. The preaching starts in 893. By 905, their promised Mahdi, Ubayd Allah, shows up, only to get immediately thrown in prison. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? Nope. That only made the Kutama angrier. In just 4 more years, they had completely shattered the old Aghlavid state and conquered the entire region. It was a blitz. So his Kutama followers free him from prison. And Ubayd Allah doesn't just call himself a king or an emir. No, he goes all in. He declares himself caliph, the leader of all Muslims. This was a direct, shocking challenge to the Abbasid caliph in Baghdad. For the first time ever, the Islamic world had 2 caliphs. But as the Fatimids were about to find out, building an empire is one thing. Holding on to it is a whole different ballgame. Their radical ideas and their total reliance on the Kutama tribe, well, it made them some very powerful enemies. And just to make things even more chaotic, the Umayyad ruler over in Cordova, Spain, sees what's happening and thinks, hey, I want in on this. So he declares his own caliphate. All of a sudden, you have 3 caliphs, each claiming to be the one true leader of the entire Muslim community. It was a time of absolute political and religious turmoil. And out of all this chaos, a powerful rebel leader rises up, Abu Yazid. His nickname was the man on a donkey. Now, that wasn't an insult. It was a symbol of his simple, pious lifestyle. It showed he was a man of God, not a man of worldly riches, and that made him incredibly charismatic to the people. Abu Yazid did the impossible. He united all these different Sunni and Kharijite tribes who absolutely hated the Ismaili Fatimids. And this rebellion was a genuine existential threat. It just swept across North Africa, and before they knew it, the Fatimids were trapped in their capital city, Mahdia, their brand new empire on the absolute verge of collapse. I mean, this was it, the apocalyptic moment. The Fatimid Caliph himself reportedly died during the siege. All hope seemed totally lost. But then, out of nowhere, a loyal general from another Berber group, the Sanhaja, a man named Ziri ibn Manad, arrives with his army. He smashes the siege, shatters the rebel forces, and saves the Fatimid dynasty from being wiped off the map. So after surviving that near-death experience, the Fatimids didn't just sit back and relax. Nope. They set their sights on a much, much bigger prize, the absolute jewel of the Middle East, Egypt. So in 969, they sent this enormous invasion force heading east, a massive army, 100,000 strong, marching towards Egypt. And it was made up mostly of those same battle-hardened Kutama warriors who had started this whole thing in the first place. And here's the crazy twist in the story. They have this overwhelming army ready for a huge fight, and they don't have to fight at all, not one battle. Turns out Egypt was in the middle of a massive crisis, political chaos, economic collapse, the works. Its rulers just gave up. The Fatimids literally walked in and took control of one of the richest lands in the world without firing a single shot. This conquest led to one of the biggest decisions in their entire history. They founded a brand new capital city, Al-Qahira, which, of course, you know today as Cairo. And then the Caliph, his entire court, and tens of thousands of Kutama families literally packed their bags and left the Maghreb for good, moving the whole center of gravity of their empire to Egypt. Now, a move that big is going to have some serious consequences. The Fatimids had a new home, a new focus on the east. But what about their original homeland, the Maghreb, where this whole adventure began? Well, they didn't just abandon it. They left it in good hands. They entrusted the entire region to the one guy who had proven his absolute loyalty, Ziri ibn Manad, the general who saved their necks. The governance of the Maghreb was handed over to him and his family to rule as viceroys. And just like that, a new dynasty was born, the Zirids. Now, officially, they ruled for the Fatimids in Cairo, but with that much distance, they were pretty much autonomous. And their legacy? You can still see it today. It was Ziri's son, Buluggin, who founded a small coastal town that would eventually become Algiers, the modern capital of Algeria. And so the Fatimids' journey from those mountain strongholds all the way to the throne of Cairo is just this incredible epic of revolution and raw ambition. But their departure created a whole new power vacuum back where they started. And that leaves us with one last fascinating question to chew on. What happens when an empire abandons its own homeland? And who or what will rise up to take its place?